Good evening everyone, welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all well. In this video I'm going to run through a dramatic black and white edit using this photograph from a previous shoot. Now in the last video I spoke to you guys about the importance of using hard light to create shadows, to create density, to create contrast. However, at this time of the day during the shoot we had some clouds come overhead and that led to the light being a lot softer and a lot more diffused. So I'm going to have to now depend on the edit to give me the drama and the density of the shadows and the contrast. And I'm going to do that using a plugin. And we'll get to that point in a minute. Now the first thing I would do always is when I start is I would look at all the distracting elements. Now I'm not going to go through the whole process of editing this picture from start to finish. I'm really only wanting to show you guys the actual grade, the color manipulation and how I use the plugin. So all of these little elements here would be things I would remove, right? I'd get rid of all these little bits, get rid of this pole up here, this woman over here, and this background area, this pole, maybe even that little guy there, and I'd definitely get rid of that tree. And then I feel she looks a little bit squashed here. This is because of the perspective and the distortion created from a wide angle lens shooting down looking up. So I'd probably take a midriff and I'd pull her up a little bit and I'd extend the entire scene. Equally, I would obviously do my normal retouching and I would get rid of any of these little imperfections that are present. So let's assume that's been done, and let's assume you guys know how to use the clone tool, which is all I used, and the healing brush tool. This is what we've ended up with. We've got our cleaned image coming to the face, we've retouched the skin, and we've also made her a little bit taller. Just pull that part up and there we go. So we're at this point now and we are gonna begin the color grade. Now before we do that, I'm going to create two layers. The top one I'm going to call Sky, and the bottom one I'm going to call Main. So I'm going to grade each section separately. The main image, fine, and then the sky separately, and you're going to see why in a minute. Now we're going to head over to the plugin. I'm using Nik Collection. If you haven't got this program, it used to be free. Unfortunately, it's paid now. I'm not going to say unfortunately. I'm going to just say it is paid now because you get a lot for your money and it's a fantastic piece of software. And once you've got that, you get your own little toolbar and you can access Silver Efex from here, or I'll just do it the original way, Nik Collection. And these are all the little sub plugins that you can get. Analog helps you create vintage effects. Color is many different things all related to color. Then we've got Define, which is the ability to enlarge an image. We've got HDR, we've got Sharpener, but we're using Silver Efex. Silver Efex Pro is the program that allows you to work with monochrome filters. So we're just going to let that load up. Okay, so the program's loaded up and it's been dropped into the window here. And we've got all of these filters down the side here. Now, the one I like to use is low key. Okay, I'm just going to click on that. And that's what we've got. We've got low key 2 and we've got low key 1. Now, low key 1 is what I'm really enjoying here, okay, on the model. It works wonderfully well. And that's just with one click, okay? One click and there we go. And then but for the sky, I actually quite like low key 2. So I can simply click on this and then I'm going to click OK. Okay. So I'm going to apply the effect to the main image that I like. Let's let that load in. It takes a couple of moments. We are dealing with quite a large image here. And there we go. So we've got our wonderful dramatic image here. I feel this area here is a little bit too light and I want to darken this down. So now I'm going to click on the sky layer. I'm going to activate that and I'm going to go back to filter. I'm going to go Nik Collection. I'm going to go back to Silver Efex Pro. But this time I'm going to select the different low key filter. This was the one where the sky looked more dramatic and that's what I'm going to go with. Now, some of you that have used this program for a while say, why don't you just use the adjustment points within the program Nik Collection? And these are the adjustment points. You can actually click little control points and you can adjust brightness and so forth independently. That is totally permissible, but you can do that. But I find the results are just better doing it this way. And I'm also going to do something else in a minute, which is going to make sense as to why I've gone down the method of creating two independent layers, specifically mask and select the area that I want to bring back. So we'll let that guy just work its way through, and there we have it. Now you'll notice actually it's created its own layer. And I actually totally forgot about this. You don't actually need to create a layer, believe it or not. You don't need to create a copy of your layer, because what the program does is it actually creates its own layer and it's independent, so it's totally fine. Okay, so this corner is what I'm after, right? So what am I going to do? I'm going to add a mask. I'm going to control an I to invert the mask, hide the effect. Alternatively, if I delete that mask, if I hold down the Alt key as I click the mask, it automatically starts as a black mask. Then I'm going to use my gradient. I'm going to make sure it's set from white to black, or white to transparent. And then if I drag this, I've darkened the sky, right? Now, depending on where I drag from, if I drag from the middle, or if I drag from the side, and I'm going to make sure that I'm not on radial gradient, I'm on a linear gradient. If I drag like this, or drag like this, I'm going to get a different effect. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag from the middle, but I'm going to overlap onto the background here, and look what happens. We start to get this light, or this dark area, falling onto the surface. It looks like a streak of light. So let's play on that idea. Let's just pull this down a little bit shorter. Let's come over here even. I'm just going to keep working this. I'm doing Control Z until I find what I'm after. And pull this out a bit more. That works there. And then I'm going to do another one over the top. And I'm going to darken it a little bit more there. Okay, I quite like that. I'm just going to pull this down here. Too much. I'm going to pull it about here. I'm going to pull one down there. That is what I'm after. So I've actually done several strokes, and it's just added on top one another, and then we've got that dramatic sky area. So if I just turn that off, you can see the difference. Okay, now obviously this is personal preference. Some of you might like this patch of light because that is creating the motivation for the light falling on the face. Here we've removed all of that, and you know, this light, her face obviously stands out more because now her face has become the brightest area of the image. And essentially that was my reasoning. I wanted to darken the sky, I wanted the focus to be here. But I actually like both of them. I mean, what's your favorite? Do you prefer the one with the light patch, or do you prefer it a little bit darker? That's going to be totally up to you. But that is basically it. We are using Silver Efex Pro. We went from this to this. I hope you enjoyed this short but informative video. Thanks for watching. Take care.